all. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Saeid Golkar. He's a professor at the University of Tennessee. And here at Center for Iranian Studies at İRAM, we are gonna discuss how Professor Golkar perceives the power shift in Iran. So he's gonna talk about the personalization of power in Iran. First of all, thank you for participating in this special seminar. We are very pleased to have you here at İRAM. I would like to give the floor to you. Maybe at the end of your speech, we will have some questions and we can have some Q&A sessions. Okay. Once again, thank you for for being at İRAM. It's a real pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for your introduction, kind introduction, and for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my first trip to Istanbul, so I'm very excited to see Istanbul, to be here, and to talk about the personalization of power in Iran. You know, if you talk with the Iranian observer, the people who are experts on international relations, regional studies, domestic politics, one thing that we have to understand before talk about Iran domestic or international or regional policies is to understand the regime type. What kind of the regime we are talking about? Because different regime type have a different domestic and international policies. You know, a democracy is different with the autocracy. Among of the autocracy, we have theocratic regime, we have the one-party system, we have the personalistic regime, and all of these have a different policies. And the transition of this regime is also different in terms of the the different regime type. So for everything that we want to talk about it, we want to understand what is Iran regional policy, what is Iran economic policy, what is Iran cultural policy, what is Iran even, international foreign policy. We have to understand the regime type in Iran. Based on this understanding, we have a better understanding of the different policy. I want to start that the Islamic Republic from 1979 to now has changed. You know, if you read the article, the comparative politics article on Iran, that they try to categorize Iran. Under the Khatami, they categorize Iran differently compared to under Ahmadinejad. Under the Khatami, it was a flawed democracy. Under the Ahmadinejad, became an autocratic regime. But right now, without any doubt, Islamic Republic is an authoritarian regime. There is no serious political scholar who describe Iran as a hybrid regime or a democratic regime. The people who describe Iran as a hybrid regime in 2008, 2007, they realized that Iran went back to the autocratic regime. If you think about that, I'm arguing that the Islamic Republic is becoming more personalistic regime. You know, if you think about the spectrum of the political system, you have either democratic system and non-democratic system. In democratic system, you have a liberal qualified democracy and flawed or electoral democracy. On the authoritarian regime, you have from totalitarian regime on the end of the spectrum to electoral authoritarian regime in the middle. In this space, you have a different form of the regime. Islamic Republic, since 2019, I'm arguing that becoming more and more personalistic regime. If that's true, we can understand why Islamic Republic became more repressive in terms of the domestic politics. The argument is, when Ayatollah Khamenei became the leader in 1989, he started the process of personalization, but the personalization ended in 2020. It completed in 2020. Islamic Republic is based on three pillars: the clerical network, the bureaucracy, and the security and military. 1989, Ayatollah Khamenei became the leader in a very manipulative session with the help of Hashemi Rafsanjani. Hashemi Rafsanjani became the president, Ayatollah Khamenei became the leader. These two men divided the power. Hashemi focused and controlled state bureaucracy. He was a technocrat-minded people, and he believed that he can actually change the Iran only by controlling the bureaucracy. On the other hand, Ayatollah Khamenei, he was a middle-rank clergy without a clerical credential and without any charisma. He became the leader, and he started the personalization of power step by step, first through the security and military. If you think about it, even despite of the Hashemi emphasis of merging the Artesh and IRGC, he not only disagreed with Hashemi, he expanded the IRGC. He started to personalize the IRGC at the first step. He purged the IRGC in three different periods. First, in 1989, he purged the IRGC from all of the Islamic leftists who support the Montazeri. In 1997, when Khatami became the president, and when 70% of the IRGC voted for the reform, he started the second purge of the IRGC. The third purge of the IRGC happened after 2009, that some of the IRGC supported Mir Hossein Mousavi. So gradually, he purged everybody who were critical to his power, recruit the more ideologic people. He changed the recruitment system for the IRGC and intensified the indoctrination of IRGC. The second pillar that he started to personalize it was the seminary school. As I told you, Ayatollah Khamenei became the leader. He was a middle-rank clergy, Hujjatul Islam. In one night, he became Ayatollah. But he didn't have the religious credential. The traditional seminary actually opposed him. So he gradually tried to marginalize, suppress the critical clergy like Ayatollah Montazeri, Ayatollah Azari Qomi, Ayatollah, and some like Hujjatul Islam Kadivar. He tried to recruit people, control the seminary, give more money to the seminary that's supporting him, and bringing a new generation of the clergies who are his students. From 1989, he started the Dars Kharaj, the high-level class for the clergies. Only Ayatollah can teach the Dars Kharaj, and he, as soon as he became the leader, he started to get the student, admit the student, and train this generation of the middle rank clergies that right now you can find them in the Guardian Council, in the Assembly of Experts, in the Expediency Expert, and almost all of the clergies in non-elected bodies. The high rank are the student of Ayatollah Khamenei. So he brought these people, appoint them at a different level in non-elected institutions. Since 2019, for example, if you think Hujjatul Islam Qomi became the head of the Islamic Propagation Center. The head of Imam Friday Pray, the council, also is one of his students. He's the head of the representative of Ayatollah Khamenei at the universities, also one of his personal students. So from 1989, he taught a lot of students, a clerical student, and then gradually from 2019, he appointed these loyal people as his minion in different non-elected bodies. That's the second pillar of the Islamic Republic, who Ayatollah Khamenei started to personalize since 1989. The third pillar was the Iranian bureaucracy. Iranian bureaucracy under the Hashemi Rafsanjani was more technocratic because of the Hashemi. If you remember, after the Hashemi, presidency gone, Mohammad Khatami, in a very shocking election, won 1997 presidential election and became the president. So until 2004, Ayatollah Khamenei was not able to completely control the state bureaucracy. Please let me add that from 1979, the Islamic Republic always tried to control the state bureaucracy using the political screening, using the security service like Hirasat in each state bureaucracy, and appointing more pro-regime and marginalizing especially Pahlavi elite or Pahlavi technocrat. But Ayatollah Khamenei tried to personalize that, not only that purify the state bureaucracy to appoint his own minions in a state bureaucracy. The first time that he was able to do that, and he thought that he find opportunity, was in 2005 when Ahmadinejad, our beloved dictator, a small dictator, became the president. When Ahmadinejad became the president, he found this opportunity to purge the state bureaucracy. He already tried to control the IRGC. He already tried to control the seminary school and the clerical establishment. The third pillar was a state bureaucracy. If you study the Ahmadinejad era, you will realize that Ahmadinejad is a very anti-technocrat person. He always talk about, the technocracy is corrupted, the bureaucracy is, one of the barrier of not shaping the Islamic utopia, and we have to purify it. At the university, a lot of people have been purged. A student he actually dismantled a lot of state bureaucratic institutions like planning and the organization of planning and budgetary issue in Iran. But the difference between Ahmadinejad and Ayatollah Khamenei in 2010, 2011, this split between these two leaders actually was the reason that personalization of state bureaucracy was not successful. That's one of the reasons. Ahmadinejad since 2011 started to be their own man and criticize and challenge Ayatollah Khamenei. The second reason, what we are talking about Iran state bureaucracy, about between 3 to 4 million members, in terms of the military bureaucracy and the civilian bureaucracy. People are working with the state government. It's a very big bureaucracy. So it took more time to personalize it. Under the Rouhani, state bureaucracy, again, Rouhani was like his mentor Ayatollah Hashemi, very technocratic minded. He believed to the technocracy, and he believed that the state bureaucracy is able to slow down the IRGC and the hardliner. So during this time, again, the meritocracy was much more compared to the Ahmadinejad era. The more technocrats are coming and working with the state, and the state bureaucracy is more rational, if I want to summarize it. 2019, if you remember, Ayatollah Khamenei actually announced his second manifesto, or the second step of the revolution. It's a very, very important manifesto that almost everybody outside of the Iran ignored this manifesto. And I really recommend that your colleague or the people who are watching read this manifesto is very, very carefully. The manifesto is very ideologic per se, but if you see Iran since 2019, if you go back to 2019 and follow step by step what Ayatollah Khamenei did, you will realize that they are implementing this manifesto. This is a manifesto for 14 years anniversary of the 1979 revolution, and the whole idea is how we can create Islamic utopia. Ayatollah Khamenei in 1998 had wrote his first manifesto that Islamic Revolution 1979 and 1982 consolidation of the power is just the beginning of creation of Islamic state, creation of Islamic society, and then creation of Islamic civilization. So he believed that the Islamic Revolution is not ended in 1979, is not ended in 1982, is a continuous process. In 2019, this manifesto tried to achieve that goal. And they believe that we have to purify the system, bring the more young Hezbollah manager. They believe what makes, still we are not able to shape the Islamic State. That's Ayatollah Khamenei belief. They believe we did the revolution, we create the Islamic Republic, but we are not able to Islamize the state. Why we are not able to Islamize the state? Because of the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy by the nature is a Western phenomenon. Iranian bureaucracy created by the Pahlavi monarchy and very strong root into the societies. So from 2019, they tried to change this mechanism. From 2019 to now, Ayatollah Khamenei have been replaced many of a political elite. The political elite that came to the power after 1979 revolution, like Ahmadinejad saw himself as a revolutionary, not as a puppet of Ayatollah Khamenei. He actually believed that I was part of the revolution. And many of the elite, like Hassan Rouhani, like Hashemi Rafsanjani, they were revolutionaries. And if you want to personalize power, you cannot do it with relying on the old elite. You need a new elite to bring. The people who are not part of the 1979 revolution, the people who are actually, they owe you everything that they have. So since 2019, if you think about the security apparatus, if you think about the non-elected body, you will see the Ayatollah Khamenei trying to replace all of his young minions in the state of the old elite. 2020 parliamentary election also changed. You know, it was a very manipulative election. Most manipulative election was 2021, that even Ali Larijani, that was one of the most insider elite, have been disqualified. What it will tell you that Ayatollah Khamenei since 2019 trying to create a new Iran that he envisioned, especially for after his demise. After he passed away, he wants to have his own legacy. And to shape that legacy, he has to change all of the elite. So under Ayatollah Raisi, the personalization of third pillar of the Islamic Republic started, the bureaucracy. If you studies the manager, the technocrat who came to the power after 2021 presidential election, you will realize most of these people, for example, came from one university called Imam Sadiq University. We have published studies for the Imam Sadiq universities, review why these universities is different. This is a private and state, semi-private, semi-state universities that indoctrination is important part of it. If you go to these universities, not only you have to go through a very rigorous, qualification process. When you go to the universities and admit at the universities, you have to pass a lot of, religious and indoctrination classes. So after 2021, Ayatollah Raisi and Ayatollah Khamenei tried to bring this new elite that are ideologic. They share a lot of idea with Ayatollah Khamenei, and they have no root in 1979 revolution. So they owe everything. They owe their promotion, they owe their rule to the Ayatollah Khamenei end. So my argument is the 2021 presidential election helped Ayatollah Khamenei to personalize the state bureaucracy. And since he already get rid of the old elite, some of them have been died, in a pool. Some of them have been purged. Some of them have been kicked out. Right now, the situation is much more ready for Ayatollah Khamenei to do that. Maybe some of you argue that, okay, after Ahmadinejad, again in 2013, Rouhani became the president, and we have a shift back from Ayatollah Khamenei vision. And I completely agree, and I believe there are two reasons. The first one is at 2013, you still have a huge presence of Hashemi, Khatami, and the reformists in the state bureaucracy and in general and among of the political elite. Right now you don't have it. Hashemi is out of the picture. Almost all of the important political elite have been purged, including Larijani. The second difference is Ayatollah Khamenei is right now 82 years old, and he doesn't have too much. Unfortunately, the clergy live long time. That's a sad part of the story. But 82 years old is still old, and Ayatollah Khamenei doesn't have too much time, to create that utopia that he wants, although this is a dystopia for the Iranian people, but from his point of view, create that utopia that he wants to do that. So this process continues right now. The security military have been personalized. The last transition was the removal of Hujjatul Islam Taib and purging the IRGC intelligence organization. The clerical system right now is completely personalized. Almost every person among of the seminarian or the student of Ayatollah Khamenei, and they will be the next marja. So you can see the picture will continue. And the state bureaucracy is under purge by the emergence of this new ideological elite. What does it mean? What does it mean? The personalization of power is happening with hand to hand with the ideologicalization of power. Ayatollah Khamenei and the people who are coming to the power in all of these pillars are more ideologic compared to the President Rouhani administration and compared to the President Khatami administration. I'm not saying that they were completely good guys, but they were more rational compared to this ideologic person. When you are ideologic, you see the world from one window. You try to explain and analyze everything from these glasses. If you put a green glass on your eyes, you will see everything green. So this will shape the Islamic Republic domestic and foreign policy. If you think about it, you will realize from 2021, the Islamic Republic domestically became more repressive, more moral policing, more gashte irshad. 14 years after the revolution, still you have a lot of these incidents that they try to, by force, impose a special Islamic dress code on the woman. You didn't see this too much under the Rouhani. It was because it's under the control of the police, and police is under control of the Ayatollah Khamenei. But the level of the repression right now is much higher compared to the Rouhani administration. In terms of foreign policy and international relations, again, if you think about Iran nuclear deal, under the Rouhani, they actually came to the negotiation and reached the deal much easier compared to now. Right now, the people are more ideologic. People are surrounding Khamenei, that he's ideologic by himself, and they are, approving his idea. Whenever he said it, they are always complimenting him. So it's much difficult for him, even in regional and international, policy, to become rational. I'm not saying that the Islamic Republic became completely crazy, driven policy, but I'm saying that, you will see more ideological standpoint of the Islamic Republic, both domestically and internationally. I think it's very difficult to reach out to the new nuclear deal. You will see it. I think Islamic Republic domestically became more repressive, and it will deteriorate. It actually will help to deteriorate the situation for Iranian people inside of the country. So you have, again, more people try to immigrate. The people who are living in Iran suffering much more, and most people are the vulnerable people who belong to the lower class. The situation will be much worse for the people, more difficult for international players to deal with the Islamic Republic, and what I see is more gloomy and dark in the few years to come.
So can we say that this process is also a securitization process? Because the IRGCs hold the power everywhere, And what what does that mean for the future of Islamic Republic, this personalization? Because how many thinks that Islamic utopia is good for the future? But what do you see?
The securitization of power, actually since 2005 when Ahmadinejad came to the power and gradually brought the IRGC and the besieged members to its state bureaucracy, some scholars start to see that the IRGC is taking over the Islamic Republic. But we saw that after Ahmadinejad and Ayatollah Khamenei separate their paths, IRGC as an organization supported Ayatollah Khamenei completely. A few of IRGC guards still stay stuck with Ahmadinejad, supported him, but the IRGC and Basij stand behind Ayatollah Khamenei. And it is an indication that IRGC at that time is personalized, is actually the Ayatollah Khamenei guard, a personal guard. Even under the Raisi, you have a lot of IRGC and the besieged members who joined the administration. You know, the most important one is, for example, General Wahidi, the Minister of Interior. The most important minister right now is the head of IRGC Quds Force. And the head of the Iran Ministry of Transportation is also the IRGC. And there are a few. Securitization is what Ayatollah Khamenei wants to control the state. I see it as part of the personalization of power. At that time, Ayatollah Khamenei, especially 2009, need to suppress the middle class and the green movement. So it gave the open hand to the IRGC. But what I see, unlike my colleagues that they believe IRGC have already taken over, I see still IRGC is under control of Ayatollah Khamenei. As long as Ayatollah Khamenei is alive, IRGC will be its security tools. We don't know what will happen after him, honestly. But so far, there are a lot of mechanisms and tools that Ayatollah Khamenei since 1989, when he came to the power, have controlled the IRGC, including the purge of the IRGC, through his representative at IRGC, through the indoctrination, massive indoctrination, cooperation. You know, they co-opted some of the IRGC guard. The IRGC involved in economy. This involvement in the economy actually is a tools. You know, the corruption works as a tool for social control of Ayatollah Khamenei. They know that they are corrupt, but they are okay with it because they actually help to control the IRGC. What will happen after that? It's really it's puzzle. IRGC already is becoming very, very powerful, and that's a problem with all of the personalistic power, because almost everything is related to the Ayatollah Khamenei. If he is out of the picture immediately without any preparation, you have a vacuum of power. And then, yes, maybe there is a conflict between different political groups, and then IRGC wants to take over. Again, that's an open question. My idea is not going to happen. Why? Because of two reasons. First, right now, IRGC almost de facto controlling the system. So they have everything that they want. Why they want to become the ruler. The second is the system, Islamic Republic, is based on the idea of the Vilayat Faqih, or the guardianship of the jurist, and for that you need a leader, a clergy leader. So for the IRGC, it's much better to find a puppet leader and, you know, rule the country, but with the same face. They don't have the problem of legitimacy. They don't have the problem with, you know, showing the military face of the regime that nobody really accepts in 2021.
What is the role of the international system on the shifting power in Iran?
That's a difficult question to answer. You know, when we talk about the survival and continuity of authoritarian regime, part of the explanation is always international factor. You know, almost if you have a good relationship, the dictator had a good relationship with the democracy, they fall much easier compared to the dictator who had a hostile relationship. Why? Because usually the democratic system put the pressure on the dictator, like Mubarak, for example, in 2011 with the Obama and the Congress, put the pressure on him to resign. And you have, because you have a lot of relationship in terms of the military, in terms of the society together, this pressure is higher on the country dictator who are friend with the democratic world. On the other hand, if you don't have a relationship, and that's why the Islamic Republic don't want to have a U.S. embassy reopened in Iran, it's exactly the same. Because they believe that with no relationship with the U.S., part of the reason they are hostile to the U.S. still is they believe that if they normalize the relationship, they plant the seed of the change. If you think about the Syria, unfortunately, you will realize that the international factor is the most important in some cases. You know, if it wasn't because of the Iran and Russia, the Assad regime could collapse in 2012 easily. It was only Iran and later on Russia that they stopped the collapse, and I'm very honestly very unhappy with the result because of the 500,000 people have been killed, because of the 12 million people have been displaced. People are suffering of a ruthless dictator in Syria. So yes, there is an important relationship between Russia and other non-democratic regimes like China with Iran. But I want to be optimistic, but the case of Syria shows that they can be very decisive in changing the destiny of the revolution. Even if there is a revolution, if you have the allies to stand with you by the end, the possibility of the successful revolution is not very strong. The good thing is, I think the Russia and China, none of them will be like Iran in Syria. They are more rational, and they don't have too much ties with the Islamic Republic, had with the Syria.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I asked this because there is an ongoing discussion among the Iranian elites, intellectuals. They are a little bit skeptical about the deepening relations with Russia and China. Some believe that the character of the autocracy will darken due to this deepening relationship. Mm-hmm. And also, while talking about the personalization of power in Iran, I remember the citation of Qasem Soleimani. He was one of the unique persons who brought the military power to the popular culture in Iran. We don't know what would have happened if he wasn't killed. Maybe he would be in the scene of the political arena. Would it be a similar example in the upcoming years? I mean, there seems a gap between the military power and the people in Iran, but this type of people can make the gap, end the gap. So how do you see the current military bureaucracy? Is there any popular figure? I mean, is there any candidates for the place of Qasem Soleimani?
In terms of your first question, Russia and China, people, Iranian historically are skeptical about Russia. You know, if you study the Iran history in 18th, 19th century, you will realize why. From 1818, Russia actually took a lot of land territory from Iran. Under the Qajar, they were actually impacted Iran politics. Even under the Pahlavi, by creation of the Tudeh party and the leftist party, they tried to control the Pahlavi. So generally speaking, people are not very happy with the Iran, China and Russia relationship. There is a gap between Iranian society and Iranian regime, and this gap right now is very, very high. You know, in all of the authoritarian regime, the gap between state and society is real, because the political leaders are not representative of the society. And you can see it in Iran. Historically, there was this gap between society and the regime, and right now this is a very wide gap. So when the Islamic Republic has a close relationship with the Russia and China, you can imagine the society in general are more pro-Western societies. Again, you know, when President Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal, at that time people became more angry of Trump in general, Trump administration. But based on my understanding, Iranian people in general are more pro-West compared to the pro-Russia and pro-China. They are not very fan of that. The second thing, why they are very close, you can see in both China and Russia, you have a personalistic rule. In Russia, it's much more clear, but even in China, that we have the Communist Party, we can see the personalization power since 2013 that the President Xi came to the power. Day by day, year by year in China, the power have been consolidated in the hands of the president. So you will see in Iran, you have a personalization of power in hand of a Khamenei, in hand of the Putin in Russia, and in hand of the President Xi in China. So they are very close, but people don't like it. Qasem Soleimani is a very interesting case, honestly, too. If you ask me, there is no IRGC commander compared to the Qasem Soleimani. It was a huge blow to the Islamic Republic in general, assassination of Qasem Soleimani. If you go back to the post-2010, you will realize for 2 years when IRGC get involved in Syria, they hide their story. They didn't talk about their involvement in Syria. They completely covered the story because it was after 2009, people were completely angry of IRGC suppression. IRGC lost its legitimacy. The emergence of ISIS was actually a gift to the Islamic Republic. ISIS are the radical Sunni Wahhabi group, and the IRGC is able to protect them as a pure evil. They're pure evil, there is no doubt about that, but protect themselves as a savior that stop the savages come to our country. So from 2015-16, you have a more positive toward the IRGC Quds force, not IRGC in general, to Qasem Soleimani as a personal and to the IRGC. From that, you have all of this propaganda about the protector of the shrine, Mudafi'in Haram, or defender of the Haram. From my point of view, it's mostly because of the ISIS at that time and personality of Qasem Soleimani. Qasem Soleimani, you know, again, very close allies to Ayatollah Khamenei. In my opinion, at that time, the second man of Iran tried to project himself as a man of the people. 2019, when the 2017-18 and then 2019 protests when happened, and again IRGC involved in the suppression of that, the IRGC legitimacy against declined. So these are the short period of the time that, because of the international setting and because of the massive propaganda of the regime, they are able to show the Qasem Soleimani as a national hero. The ceremony, the funeral of Qasem Soleimani, they changed it to the show. They actually brought this body, and city by city, they had a different ceremony. They did whatever they can to do that, to bring people to the street as part of the, you know, a show for the international observer. Again, after 2019 and after the suppression of the November protests and after the shooting of the airplane, the IRGC legitimacy declined. Right now, the Guard, the Basij, is popular among of the Islamic Republic supporters without any doubt. You know, 15, 20, maximum 20. If I want to be very, very optimistic, maximum 15, 20%. Yeah, they like, but almost 80% don't have a good, positive view about the IRGC. And the bad thing about that, they are not able to replace anybody in the state of the Qasem Soleimani. The new head of the IRGC, Qudsford, General Ismail Ghani, is not a charismatic person. Is not a person that you can sell it as a hero to the people. It takes time. You have to create the persona. You have to, create a lot of movie, a lot of TV show, a lot of video clip to create a national hero. But so far, IRGC was not able to do that. And I think because the ISIS is out of the picture, they are not able to do that either.
Okay, thank you, Professor Golkar.
Thank you very much.
It has been a very fruitful seminar. For a while, we haven't had this kind of seminars, and it has been a fresh start for us. It is once again a pleasure to have you at IRAM. I have many questions in my mind, but maybe we can have other seminars or online or face-to-face. Who knows the future? So once again, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you.
While studying Iranian politics, it is crucial to comprehend the power shift in contemporary Iran, and you have enlighten our minds with your very fresh comments.
Thank you very much for having me here. It was a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you for the audience for following us.